Well, good evening, everybody. This is the city council meeting for the city of Bonnie Lake for February 13th, 2024. Today is a very busy day. I hope everybody voted. And I'm wishing everybody a bon temps roulette if you were down in New Orleans. Today's Mardi Gras.
Oh,
But the very first thing we do is salute our flag. So if everybody could stand. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, Madam Clerk, could you call the roll, please?
Mayor McCullough,
I'm here.
Deputy Mayor Carter,
Here.
Councilmember Baldwin,
Here?
Councilmember Fullerton,
Here.
Councilmember Hubler,
Here.
Councilmember McClymans,
Here.
Councilmember Roach,
Here.
and Councilmember Swatman.
Present. And I do believe that we have a agenda modification. I believe Councilmember Swatman is moving to move AB 2410, Resolution 3195, off of the consent agenda to put onto the full agenda. Do I hear a motion for that?
So moved. Second.
All right, any discussion? All right, all in favor of moving item D, AB 2410, Resolution 3195, off of the consent agenda to put it onto our full agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Very good. Okay, so that has been moved. And I believe we have a report from Community Court. I'll now hand the floor over to Ms. Carla Lewis. And so, since I did not say it, could you introduce yourself and your title, please?
Hi, Carla, Court Case Manager. Nice to meet you. So I wanted to let everyone know we are going to have our resource fair on February 17th, 12 to 3 p.m. here at City Hall. We will have around 31 separate vendors that have been invited. Those vendors range from anywhere from mental health services, chemical dependency. The library will be joining us, as well as employment agencies, education, Green River Community College, Sumner and Bonnie Lake School District will be here. So it's just a variety of different vendors. We're really excited and looking forward to that. Does anybody have any questions?
Ms. Aaron, is that true? Are you going to be there? So she's not lying. Okay, good. All right. Well, thank you very much.
What date is that again?
It's on February 17th, 12 to 3 p.m.
And what day of the week is that?
It's a Saturday.
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 Thank you for putting that.
Absolutely. All righty, well, let's move on. Seeing as we have no more public hearings, we will go on to citizen commentary. All right, this is your time to address the council on city business. The city will now enable the video and microphone for those attending virtually. You will need to turn on your video and microphones on your end if you're wanting to be seen or heard. We will start with those who are present here in person and move to the virtual comments afterwards. Anybody who wishes to make a comment, you have 5 minutes. And when you come to the microphone, please state your name and address for the record.
Evening, everyone. My name is Erin Muskie. I'm the senior librarian at the Bonnie Lake Library. A few updates from the library. We are going to be out and about at a couple of community events, including this Saturday's resource fair. I want to thank Carla for arranging that. I think it's going to be a really great opportunity for the community, so we'll have a table there. The other one you will see us at coming up in the future is the following Saturday on the 24th. Is the Sumner Bonnie Lake School District's annual STEM fair and art show that they do at middle school. So we will have a table at the STEM fair, and we are acting as community judges of the artwork there, for better or worse. I'll be down there judging art. So you'll see us there as well if you're visiting. That's an amazing event. I think last year they had around 800 people show up, so it's a really big one. I wanted to give you an update on our Valentines for Veterans project that we wrapped up within our region. We made 264 Valentines for our local veterans. And that included people that were just stopping by all three library branches in the region, Sumner, Bonnie Lake, and Buckley. We had about 40 cards come in from students at Liberty Ridge Elementary who were participating in a project about kindness and empathy. And we also had Congresswoman Kim Schreier stop by the library and make a card for a veteran as well. So we delivered all of those Valentines out to our three partner locations, the Washington Soldiers Home, the Veterans Village, also on site there, and then American Legion Post 67 in Ording, or I'm sorry, in Puyallup. And they recently, in the cold snap that we had, they had a pipe burst and flood their hall. So their post commander actually said the Valentines couldn't have come at a better time because they've not been able to meet in person. So it just provided a little bit of extra care and concern for the veterans during that time. And finally, the news I am very, very excited to announce is about our food locker ribbon cutting tomorrow. Hopefully you all have already heard about that, but if not, that is going on tomorrow on Valentine's Day at 2 p.m. We will be across the parking lot. As of about 5 p.m. today, the wrap has gone on to the food lockers, so it's got their logoing on. It looks amazing. It's really big and bright. We hope there will be a really good crowd there to introduce that service location offsite. The first location that is an offsite location for those food lockers. So please do come. Everyone, please do come to that if you have a moment tomorrow afternoon at 2.
All right, thank you, Aaron. Who's cutting the ribbon? Do you know?
Actually, it's me. Tomorrow is my birthday, so I think.
Very good. Yeah, happy birthday. On Valentine's Day. That's very appropriate. And you can't trust me with a pair of scissors, so yeah. All right, anybody else for the good of the order?
My name is Joel Johnson. I'm the president of Bonnie Lake Sumner Little League. Wanted to come in today to kind of express two things. One, the league's gratitude for the turf field, all great resource for the community, and really kind of express some of the future outlook we have as a league and kind of some of the partnerships we would like to build, certainly with this group as well. We are a league that supports over 800 boys and girls in the community, recreational sports all the way from 4 years old to 18 years old. We also have our Challenger division for disabled, intellectually, physically disabled kids and adults to participate. Our league has been around for many decades, and we've been working really, really hard on trying to build resources for ourselves, and I will tell you that is very difficult. I've only been I've been the president for 4 years now. The asset of that field, that turf field for us as a baseball organization is certainly going to change the outlook in the future for our league. So certainly wanted to take the time and thank everybody for that. And then also, again, express the reality of the resources we have. We would like to partner more with the city. We certainly are going to be partnering more with organizations around us, MRAC being one of them. We're in conversation with them about kind of some future things, but really for the near future, speaking with the team you guys have that maintains Allen York Park, for example, I feel like there's opportunity for our organization to contribute with a lot of different things, assets as far as how to maintain fields and help with the dirt fields and really help with the turf field as well. So I wanted to take the time for our league, our organization, Bonnie Lake Sumner Little League, which is essentially Bonnie Lake Baseball Association as well. We want to express the reality of what the city could possibly partner with us and give us some direction and vision of how we can help. Right now, we have people very eager. I just don't think we have the direction, right? So I want to take the time to tell you guys all that, and hopefully have further conversations about where we can kind of work together.
Joel,
So,
is there any contact information for you
Yeah.
Where we could have, possibly have a meeting or something. at
Sure,
some
yeah,
point.
I can leave that. I don't know who I leave that with or how I leave that. Okay,
Sadie over
Yeah.
here, that'd be great. Thank you.
absolutely, sure.
Well, I certainly appreciate that, Joel. And I've been wanting that for the last 2 years, and that was prior to y'all going to Pennsylvania
Yeah.
a couple of years ago. So yeah, I think that your league deserves it and city deserves it as well. So I hope it works out.
Thank you.
Do we have anybody else for the good of the order?
Council Mayor, I'm past Councilmember Dan Decker out of 270th Street, Bonnie Lake, Washington. Tacoma water is the epitome of stupid. Fluoride, chlorine, ozone, caustic soda are in the water. The people of Tacoma were tricked into believing their water is safe. There's fluoride, chlorine, ozone, caustic soda in the Tacoma water. The people believe their water is safe. I believe that's government trickery. Fluoride. The Children's Health Defense states fluoride is one of the 12 industrial chemicals known to cause developmental neuropathy in humans. The known health concerns, as tests have shown, are vast from fluoride. The moment a person swallows and ingests fluoride, the damage begins. Fluoride causes cancer, autism, ADHD, bone fractures, reproductive and developmental damage, lowers IQ, and the list is endless. Chlorine. The good of chlorine, low cost and destroys germs like cholera and typhoid. The bad, this is terrible. It causes bladder, rectal, and breast cancer. The U.S. Council of Environmental Quality states that if a person drinks chlorine, there's a 93% chance of getting cancer from it. And what's in the water? Chlorine. Hey, cancer's coming your way, everyone. Ozone. Yes, ozone can kill a person. The way Tacoma uses ozone, I believe it's safe. Maybe, not sure. But ozone is pretty much safe if used correctly. Caustic soda. What is caustic soda? Caustic soda is a disinfectant. Person can be concerned when the name of something begins put into our water starts with the title caustic. Caustic means something that burns or destroys living tissue. Hey guys, we're all living tissue. Caustic soda is put into the Tacoma and Bonnie Lake drinking water. Tacoma will tell us, oh, it's safe. Yep, it's safe, just like the fluoride and chlorine coming from Tacoma into Bonnie Lake water. Yeah, not very. Anyone of fluoride, chlorine, or caustic soda will take a person's life. So a person lives to be 60 or even 90 years without the continuum of poison in our drinking water. Maybe we would live to be 120 years as God intended. That would be in Genesis 6.3. In conclusion, the remedy of excluding poison in our drinking water, use ultraviolet light and industrial grade membrane filtering system. And the problem is solved unless, of course, someone has stock in the companies that produce the poison put into our water. Point here is that twice in the last 20 years, the council has said no chlorine. So, excuse me, but why the hell do we have chlorine in our water? Just because all of a sudden we have a tie-in with the Tacoma water? My understanding is that chlorine, fluoride, caustic soda, and all the other poisons were supposed to stay on the 410, the west side of 410. So what's going on? Every single person in the city of Bonnie Lake now is drinking Tacoma water that has been commingled with the city of Bonnie Lake water. I believe that is, I'm not going to say those words, but you all know what I'm thinking. We're being poisoned every single time we take a drink of water. Oh, wait a minute. Do you guys drink the water in Bonnie Lake? Question rhetorical. Thank you, council.
All right, thank you, Mr. Decker. Is there anybody else who is here for the good of the order? Hey, Ms. Beverly, how are you? If you could give your full name, that would be very good for the record.
My full name is Beverly Proby.
Mm.
And good evening, City Council. I'm here to thank you, Mayor McCullough, for showing up on February 6th to do the swearing in of the members of the board for the Bonnie Lake Senior Center. I also would like to thank Chuck, Jason, and Leslie Harris. You being there, it didn't go unnoticed. I think for a lot of the seniors, it was the first time that they felt noticed. And I thank you for that. Now, I just need to know, when are we going to hear that things have been settled so that they will know that the center will get a paint job, new windows, and other things that have been put out there? We just need to know when. And I'd like to know where we are in the process of getting to the finish line so that those things can be started this year. I think the center itself, almost 50 years old, is in need of that paint and is in need of inside painting and so much more. And since I am the newly elected member of the advisory board, I have skin in the game now. And I want to see things done. It's been far too long. Thank you. Good evening.
All right, thank you very much. It was indeed a pleasure showing up. I wish I could have stayed longer than all of that, but thank you. Thank you very much. And when Olympia disperses those funds, Sue will probably be the first to know, but then you'll be number two. Okay. All right, do we have anybody else for the good of the order who's present? Okay, seeing no one else, we will move to our virtual commenters. Oh, yes. Hey, Troy.
One other thank you. Just want to thank you for City Council, you guys for opening the senior center after, the pandemic, everything going on. And want to thank you after Jay Inslee. This is kind of the anniversary. About 3.5 years ago is when he had the shot of the lifetime, where he offered the $1 million, to incentivize everybody to get vaccinated. And he had 4 $250,000 lotteries, and he had the final $1 million lottery, all in an effort to raise the rates of vaccinations. So I just want to thank you guys you guys were the only city council that had freedom proclamation in the entire state. You raised awareness to everybody, and you guys got the senior center reback open. So I just want to thank you guys, because you guys stood out over the rest of the state. So a lot of people were fired, and a lot of people, whether they were firefighters or police, and you guys stood out to everybody else. So I just want to thank you guys, because you guys have opened a lot of eyes the past 3.5 years. So I want to thank you guys. It's a great city. All right, thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Fullerton.
Is Troy Fullerton. And I am at 183rd Avenue East. It's 2004. Right.
All right, thank you. Anybody else for the good of the order? Okay, now we'll move on to our virtual commenters. And if you do wish to speak virtually, you will have 5 minutes. Please state your name and address for the record. All right, seeing no action on our screen, we will now disable all video and microphones for those who are attending virtually. We have no correspondence, so we'll start with our committee reports. Could we hear the Finance Committee, please?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Finance Committee met today at 5 o'clock upstairs. We have a new Finance Committee, so it's myself, Councilmember Fullerton, and Councilmember Hubler from Public Safety. We approved our minutes. We had a department report or a personnel update. In that, I'm just going to read a couple of the changes. Edward Coughlin is a entry police officer starting on March 1st. Tristan Card, also March 1st as a police officer. These are both entry levels. Terry was promoted to Judicial Specialist 3, also on March 1st. Jerry Reich promoted to Judicial Branch Manager, also on March 1st. Ken Gill promoted to City Attorney on 2/16. And Cassidy Maples promoted to Maintenance Worker 1 in Water on 2/16. So a lot of movement for people around there. City Engineer, sorry, did I say?
You said City Attorney.
Oh, City Attorney, yeah. Engineer.
I was
Thank
going to
you. I
question
appreciate that. I'm not sure where that came from.
Sorry, Ms. Robertson.
Appreciate that. So anyway, yeah, we moved on to our discussion and action items. The first one was authorizing out-of-state travel. That's AB 2415. That's actually on tonight's agenda under finance issues. And we had a discussion about the rec program, and that ran kind of long. That's also set for a retreat, and we've also added it for another 2 weeks as to what's occurring. So we've given a deadline for something else to occur basically with that. I won't go into the whole discussion on that. We actually ran out of time for our open committee discussion and came down here for council.
And just for the record, we have moved the date of the retreat, and what's the date that we've agreed upon?
March 23rd.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. All right, can we move to Community Development Committee, please?
Mr. Mayor, thank you. Community Development Committee did meet on February 6th. A couple items that we were working on at committee level. We forwarded both to this evening's discussion, so we can chat about those when we get here. We had an extensive discussion with a lot of the engineering and operational folks about both of the award for construction of the McClure and Granger Springs pump house replacement, which is on your agenda for a recommendation of pass tonight, and a recommendation for resolution 3197, Granger Springs pump station project upgrade. Both those came out of committee with the pass recommendation for this evening, and they're on full council, so we can, and CDC, so we can discuss a little bit more detail when we get down there. Ordinance that we're looking at for the 2023 code maintenance that we're still finally kind of a little detail-y work on the committee level, and it's probably going to come out of committee next week or the week after, whenever we have the next committee meeting. If
Tonight.
the code maintenance one, did we forward that one also? And we were fine with that one too. Okay, yeah. Yep. Oh, okay, for full council. Yeah. Okay. Very good. And those were the items is that evening.
All right, thank you, Councilmember Swatman. Can we hear from Public Safety Committee, please?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. First of all, I want to make sure I say this before I forget. The next meeting is March 12th on the second floor at 3:30. The public is welcome. I was appointed, Councilmember Baldwin was appointed as the committee chair. Councilmember Hubler will be on the Finance Committee. We had our East Pierce Fire and Rescue Monthly Report. Station 111, which is our Bonnie Lake location, is a month behind schedule. There is some dry weather needed to be able to construct the roof. We're slated to do a late June completion and then a 1 month to occupy is the goal there. We also had our Bonnie Lake Police Department monthly report. We have 2,000 less calls for service compared to this time last year. So that's good. Our prosecutor's office monthly report, they reviewed between December and January 45 total hours of body worn camera footage. The staff had a fentanyl 101 training. There was some discussion in maybe extending that out to other residents in Bonnie Lake, as well as maybe students in the district and things like that. You've already heard this, but we are having a resource fair under the Big Top. That is again Saturday, February 17th. It's located right here in the Justice Center from 12 to 3. Kind of a neat opportunity coming up to see the hard work of our prosecutor's office. There is a theft in the third degree trial coming up. It is slated for February 20th, which is a Tuesday, with an 8:30 to 9 a.m. start, potentially if things continue to move smoothly, and that is open to the public. We also had our code enforcement quarter for Q4 report. They opened 30 new cases, closed 41 cases, collected 4,600 in civil penalties, with 25,000 still outstanding. They did their first abatement activity, which was really neat, as a joint operation since the council approved the $80,000 in the abatement budget. And then we moved on to agenda bills. So AB 2414, that is to amend the Bonnie Lake Municipal Code. This had to deal with animals at large from public places to private places, as far as how to handle that and penalties and things like that. We also did AB 2416, also another amendment to the municipal code. It's on the ability to impound vehicles after an arrest related to racing. We also added definitions of drifting to be included in racing, as well as aiding or abetting racing to have the same penalties. We discussed AB 2417. We had a lot on the agenda, but anyway, and that is to also amend the municipal code. This has to do with persons that are obstructing or interfering with code enforcement officers' ability to do their job. It's to increase the penalty from a misdemeanor to a gross misdemeanor. Also, we discussed AB 2418, which is Resolution 3199, probably one of our favorites. It has to do with the giving laterals the opportunity to receive a bonus. It's an award of 25,000 signing bonus for lateral officers. For those of you that don't know, that's a officer that has completed FDO training. They've already been on the streets for 2 years at minimum. But this would give us the ability to have officers come on to the job at 3 months rather than waiting 12 months. And even then, you're never even sure if they're going to stay and make it. And so this was already a part of budget as a result of vacancies. And so it's just moving funds around. Also, all of the above agenda bills that I just told you about will be in front of council for discussion on February 27th. And lastly, we had public comment where citizens informed us that the Cascade Water Alliance is estimating that the lake is to be full by the middle of March. Also, questions were asked again about boat trailer parking options and ball field 4. That's all.
Well, thank you, Councilmember Baldwin. And if I can make a public appeal to our citizenry, if you have received a juror summons to come in for the trial, please honor that and come in. I can tell you from experience with the city of Lakewood that I personally went through pretrial motions. We were to start a trial. 5 people showed up.
Oh, no.
For their juror duty. And so we had to shut everything down. It was a very expensive undertaking with the city. So if you are out there, please honor those summons. It is an honor to serve on a jury. So, and moving on, let's see, don't have any other reports right now, so we are moving to the consent agenda. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All right, all in favor of adopting the consent agenda for February 13th, 2024, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Very good. Okay, so items A through C have been adopted, and we have 2 finance committee issues, 2 community issues, and now we also have the revised AB 2410 resolution 3195 as well. All right, Madam Clerk.
This is AB 2411, Ordinance D 2411. The council motion would be to amend Ordinance number 1712 relating to salaries for non-represented employees, providing for severability and corrections, and establishing an effective date.
Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All right, any discussion on the matter? Okay. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, this is just essentially to keep step with our non-represented employees and what has been negotiated with represented employees. So one of those things that we kind of need to do to keep up with the Joneses, essentially.
All right, thank you, Deputy Mayor. Councilmember Roach, did I see your hand?
No.
Okay. All right. Councilmember Swatman.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I think I agree with Deputy Mayor. It's very important that our, non-represented representative staff have kind of equality in their treatments. And, you'll see when we get down to, I know working in the committee level is like CDC with the engineers and stuff that we have to work with. The staff members are just very professional and you actually kind of pay for what you get down there. So, you'll see a tremendous amount of savings that the staff was able to come up with when we get down to that discussion point, and the things that they're doing out there are just amazing. So, we need to make sure to compensate them correctly, and I'm all for this.
All right, Madam Clerk, take it down. This is a red letter day. Councilmember Swatman agreed with the deputy mayor on something.
Don't we always? I think
All right.
It's 13th.
Do we have any further discussion on the matter before we move to a vote? Okay, let's move to the vote. All in favor of ordinance D 2411, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, unanimous consent. Next issue, Madam Clerk.
This is AB 2415, Resolution 3198. The council motion would be to authorize the judge of the Bonnie Lake Community Court case manager and city prosecutor to attend the RISE 24 conference from May 21st through the 25th, 2024 in Anaheim, California.
Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All right, do we have any discussion on the matter? Deputy Mayor Carter.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We talked about this today in our Finance Committee meeting. Essentially, this is coming to us because council needs to authorize any kind of out-of-state travel. There's no money that we're coming out of the general fund for this. This is actually coming out of the grant that they already have. So they just needed to bring it before us. So I'll be a yes on this.
Okay. Any further discussion on the matter?
I was gonna,
Oh, yes, Deputy, I'm sorry, Councilmember Roach.
I was reading through that, there's like several different people that were getting money from the grant to go. Is that correct?
Correct.
And they've got to do the expenses and then reimburse or submit for reimbursement.
Don't recall.
I believe that is how it works. When we did, I'm sorry, didn't mean to talk over you. When we did the FEMA training last year, if we got the grant to go, we would be financing the room and board and everything. And then, yes, there'd be a reimbursement that'd be involved. Oh, and Councilmember Hubler.
I think what I was reading in here is like there's set limits and like the way they can travel, all that kind of stuff, so that it does help to make sure that their grant, even though this is funded through the grant that they've already received, it would still protect that money so that they're not overspending and using it haphazardly.
Yeah, correct. Deputy Mayor Carter.
You're absolutely right. It stays within federal limits. There's guidelines. There's an actual website you can go onto and plug it in. It gives you all the information about breakfast, lunch, dinner. Like it breaks it all down for you.
And as long as we have a declaration from Your Honor that you're not going to go to Disneyland since it is in Anaheim. All right, do we have any further discussion on the matter before we take it to a vote? Okay, all in favor of resolution 3198, say aye. Say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, let it be known that has been unanimous consent. Next issue, Madam Clerk.
Yeah,
I
right.
hear a motion that you don't have to read the entire.
Yeah, last line, please.
This is AB 2402, Ordinance D 2402. The council motion would be to make routine housekeeping amendments to the sections of the Bonnie Lake Code that has to do with parking and restrictions of it.
And sewer.
And
it
to
looks
the
like
sewer connection and exemptions and related to code enforcement appeals.
Okay, do we have any, need a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All right, do we have any discussion on the matter? Councilmember Swam.
I believe Mr. Sullivan might be able to fill us in on the details, but it's been through planning agency, so I think maybe even then, the then planning commission member Hoopler is familiar with this one also. So lots of public process behind this one. There's a lot of detail-y work in there. Staff's done a great job again with doing this stuff. So we looked at it at committee for quite a while and had a bunch of input to it and different little tweaks. So we recommend it for passage tonight.
Just to be clear, are you asking Mr. Sullivan to talk because we only have 5.5 hours?
I know. Well, he's the one that wrote this title.
I was directed to write this title by the city attorney. I would have much rather said just code maintenance, but I was told that I couldn't do that by the city attorney's office.
And the reason that the title is so long
Yes.
is
it's
that
so long.
Covers everything.
we publish the title to give notice to the public.
Mm.
And if it doesn't say what we did and what codes we amended, it doesn't really inform the public as to what we did. And so it's much less expensive to publish the title than the whole ordinance. So I'll just end there.
There you go.
That's very good. Okay, do we have any further discussion on the matter? Councilmember Roach.
I did have one question. So, and this is a lot. So thanks for doing all that work in committee.
Well, it's mainly the planning agency that did all the heavy lifting.
Yeah, I mean, there's, I think, over 100 pages in here. One thing I have a question on was, it was page 52 of the page 130, 56, sorry. So it's talking about fourplexes, and basically you can get permitted to do a fourplex. If we don't have the sewer line going through, you can get permitted, and as long as you go through the health department, you can get your septic approved. And that's all good. But the way I read it is 6 months later, if we do have a sewer line that goes through, they'll automatically start paying, even though they have a brand new septic.
Mm.
And then, I was like, wow, that's tough to swallow. And then there was a financial hardship. So what would happen is you would either have to immediately start paying the sewer while you still have the septic you just built, or you could sell it. But if you sold it, you'd have to hook up to the sewer, which is thousands and thousands of dollars. So it's a huge deal, but it did have in there financial hardship. So if there was, and they allow you to, if you could prove financial hardship, you could pay over 5 years, and that's being taken out. And so I don't know, maybe no one ever used it, but I just have a question on, if I were a developer, there's no way I would ever try to do a fourplex in the city of Bonnie Lake. There's way too much risk. So I'll take this kind of in a couple parts. The first is the provisions that we're putting in the code right now are kind of already in the code. So back in June of 2023, there was an ordinance that was passed by the city council that made a number of changes to the sewer code to kind of help people who are really far away from sewer be able to build projects. I don't know.
Yeah, I was going to say, did you?
Yeah, I think it's just whoever is at the term director is just doesn't do well with mics. Was already in the code, but unbeknownst to us, and we just didn't understand why, it was in the water code and the sewer code, but we only amended the water code. And we found out that now there's these provisions that allow for some exemptions in the water code for sewer utility, but not in the sewer code. So really just taking the amendments that were in the water code, taking them out, putting them in the sewer. When it comes to the 6 month, that's only when the sewer becomes available. But we would only be doing this in the cases where there is no sewer planned in the CIP project list, right? So these are areas right now of the city that can't develop because there's no sewer, and the sewer's 300-400 feet away, and the projects can't develop. And so this was put in for both four lot short plats and for like for fourplexes. It's part of a housing affordability ordinance that the council adopted back in June of 2023. So really no change there. One of the things that happened in committee with the financial hardship is it's still in the code. We just moved it sections. So what happened was there was some current concerns about when this code is applicable that that Councilmember McClymon's raised about code was structured. So we rechanged the way the code, and actually we just moved that hardship language.
Thank you, Mr. McEwen, for rescue. I think it might be your cufflinks, Mr. Sullivan.
It might be. I don't know. So if you go to section, if you go to page 54 and section 9, that exact same financial hardship language was just moved into a new section. And that was just to help with the readability of that section, because that really didn't apply to when you don't have to connect to sewer. It had to do with the fees. And so just the way to make the code read a little bit better, we just moved that exact same language and expanded it for the Easttown ULA latecomers that we'll also be expecting in the next couple months to allow for that financial hardship to apply as well. So still in the code, just a different section for some readability improvements.
All right, Mr. Sullivan, I have two questions before we move on. The first one being, I'm just assuming, but I want to make it on the record. This doesn't deviate from the Growth Management Act in any way, does it?
No, the changes that we made to the sewer code were actually from a grant that the city received.
Okay.
It was part of our Housing Action Implementation Plan that was adopted back in June of 2023. So we got a grant to actually make those improvements to reduce the cost of developing housing.
And also for the record, do we have any clear delineation on what qualifies as a financial hardship, or is that going to be on a case-by-case basis?
It's a case-by-case basis, and it's talked about with the CFO through the finance department.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Councilmember Baldwin.
I know that you said it's been in place, this code or whatever, and so there's just amendments being made. So I guess then my question becomes, then does this need amending? I mean, because I'm reading C and D. I'm assuming that's what you're talking about. Part C and D on there. And I agree with Councilmember Roach that this is a bit of a hard pill to swallow, to tell property owners that they're going to be charged even if they're not connected.
No
Sewer service.
no one's charged until they're connected to the sewer system.
Well, but then it also says property, still bothersome. D, property owners shall decommission the private wastewater disposal system at their own expense at the time of sewer connection.
Are you
So
talking
are
about?
you saying like if they have, like you were supposing hypothetically, somebody builds a brand new septic system that works just fine, and the city then comes and is able to then have them connect into sewer, they will be forced to connect into the sewer and at their own disposal pay for getting rid of their own septic system.
If they want to not build the sewers right now, so let's kind of take a step back. Currently, if you do development, you have to connect the sewer before this amendment in June. So before we made the amendment in June, if you wanted to do a 4-lot short plat or a 2-lot short plat or a 4-lot or a duplex where it's permitted, and the sewer was 3 miles away, you would have to drag the sewer 3 miles.
Wow.
So in June, the city council of last year amended, and if you look at page, and this is just kind of the way ordinance get developed.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at page, sorry, I'm getting there as quick as I can.
Kind of dealing with two different page numbers here.
Yep, it is. If you look at page 73, which is 27 of the ordinance,
Okay.
and there's a section 22, says repealer.
Sorry, this is like literally 130.
Yeah, it is. That's why it's page 73 of the package.
Was 3, yes.
So there's a language that it says repealer. So back in June, the council adopted all of these amendments, but we amended section 1304.040. If you go and read section 1304.040.
Which is not in here.
No, we're repealing that section. If you go and read it off the municipal code,
Yeah.
it's the exact same language that is in section 1312.130.
Right, you're just saying it.
So we're just, So
And it already exists.
yeah, so we're just taking, and for some reason, the when sewer connections are mandatory, existed both in the sewer code and the water code. We're taking the amendments the council has already passed back in July of last year, taking them out of the water code and putting them in the sewer code where duplicate language has existed to this day. So if I could bring up both the municipal code right now, 1312-130 and 1304-09-040 had the exact same language. When we did the amendment in last year, we only amended the water code for some reason, and we thought we were amending the sewer code. So we're just bringing those amendments forward. Anybody who participates in that program,
Mm-hmm.
they have to sign an agreement, understanding that we are getting off of, we are participating in this alternative approach, that we will go off of septic once the city has a sewer become available. These are in areas where we don't anticipate sewer coming in the near term. So I don't see for example, we'll just take another example. All the development in Easttown has a similar provision that has existed for years. And so all the commercial development you see out there has gone on septic when they all signed agreements to connect once the sewer line gets built. Some of those buildings are 5 and 7 or 8, 9, 10 years old. So, but they signed an agreement that's recorded that they understand that that's what they're doing. This isn't something that would happen within a 6-month window. But the provision is that once sewer becomes available, they need to switch from the septic to the sewer.
And for clarity, Mr. Sullivan, is there any plan in the future for that sewer to be developed?
Which one?
The sewer line to be developed? Are we talking 5 years, 10 years? What are we talking about?
It all depends on what part of the city you're at and where you're at. So, for example, there's the area up behind Lake Ridge Lake Ridge Elementary or Middle School.
Okay.
There's a whole neighborhood up there that people have wanted to do improvements on their property and development on their property, and we've said no because there's no sewer. This would allow them to make improvements on their property, and at some point in the far distant future, we build sewers out in that area, which isn't even on the CIP at this point, then they would have to connect.
Yeah, I don't know of any projects for new,
Right.
like we don't go out there to nowhere land where there is
Yeah.
no,
So for example, like, you know,
we haven't.
there's areas of the city that there's just no sewer, and we have no plans in the interim, in the intervening 6-year CIP to stand sewer. So I
And
could say that,
that's the answer I wanted.
yeah, in the 6 years, there's nowhere other than Cedar View
Right.
that we are hoping to extend sewer services into.
Yep.
Other than, I would say Easttown, which is currently underway because a developer is building that. But we're not planning to extend the sewers.
Oh, don't mention Cedar View. That's a bad.
It's a bad one,
bad
but other than that, there's no change to expand the sewers, but this would allow for people who are wanting to develop their property within what's allowed by the current zone to do so and do so in a way that is a lot less expensive than having to extend the sewer. We just want, when we get the sewer available, they have to connect because they went through, instead of having to do the sewer, they did kind of an alternative approach.
Oh, Councilmember Hubel.
Just to kind of help with anybody that, when I got our neighborhood annexed into the city 7 years ago, it was because the code, the way it was written is it had to be, I think it was back then, I thought it was like 200 feet.
I think so.
From your front door basically to the sewer connection, you would have to, because my neighborhood's all septic. But this just gives that clarity of, say my septic system goes down. Now, I know factually, based on city code, that I will still be able to repair or replace my septic system, even though down the road, there is a sewer line, but it's far enough away that it would cost us a lot of money to hook into that system. So it just gives that clarification that we're able to replace if we needed to, because we're too far away from the sewer system.
And Councilmember Roach, I want to correct one of my statements.
Yeah.
You are correct. There is the sub point 3 and 3C that does require the base charge. If the council did have concerns with that, we could remove that as there's not a connection to the sewer. That's just what was current. That's what the council adopted back in July of last year, and we just moved forward the exact same language.
I mean, it just, oh, sorry, I didn't raise my hand.
Oh, Councilmember Baldwin.
Yeah, it just seems logical to remove that. Yeah. You know me, I'm not a fan of restrictive code. And so looking at that, it just seems a little unnecessary
So I
to
guess
charge them that.
I'll let the council figure out how to, the seconder and the maker, if they want to make that as a friendly
I'm gonna make a
amendment, we
motion.
can.
Okay, Councilmember Climents.
Yeah, I make a motion that we amend the standing motion to strike section 3C on page 56 of the packet or page 10 of the code.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor of the Councilmember Climents' motion to excise the section, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, let's,
I do apologize for the council for not catching that when Councilmember Roach read it. I was quickly reading the ordinance and I missed that. So I do apologize, Councilmember Roach.
200 pages.
did you read all 200 pages in the 5 minutes that?
I'm trying.
allotted you?
I'm
Yeah.
trying.
Okay,
Thanks for the explanation too. That's,
all right.
it
Are
makes
we-
sense now. So.
Now that it's been
Yeah,
amended. are we
it's
ready
it's
take
meant
it
to
a vote?
help people not hurt them.
Yes.
Okay, now that it's been amended, are we ready to take it to a vote? Okay, all in favor of, and where am I on the page? Would this be 3197? No, this would be, I'm sorry, all in favor of ordinance D2402, say aye.
Aye.
As amended, yes. Thank you, Madam Clerk. In fact, let's do it over. That was a little messy. All in favor of ordinance D2402 as amended, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Very good. We have unanimous consent. All right, can we move on, Madam Clerk?
This is AB 2412, Resolution 3196. The council motion would be to authorize the award of the construction of the Granger Springs Pump House Replacement Project to McClure and Sons Incorporated.
Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Or any discussion on the matter?
Sure.
Councilmember Swatman.
Yeah, just a little background here. Of course, we discussed this extensively at committee. I think the council recalls that we had a previous, same project. We went out to bid for it. Previously had to reject all the bids because the costs were over what the engineer's estimate were originally. So they had to go back and sharpen their pencils. What I was referencing before, with having excellent people, they're doing an excellent job out there to make sure that they could get this project in at a better price. So, they have the engineer's estimate again and had to go out and get the bids that matched up more appropriately. Also even figured out some things to do with moving a project that we know it's not going to go with. The mayor kind of mentioned the Cedarview piece a little bit for sewer and water, that because, you're going to dig up a road out there. So you want to do them both at the same time so you can move some of the water funds down a couple of years. And they're also working on that grant, federal grant that comes and goes every 5 minutes, apparently, for the Cedarview piece, which is millions of dollars worth of grants out there. So this one's, obviously something we need to do. It's a significant source for Granger is over here on the side of the hill. If you don't know AMPM, go down that weird little road down there. Very important for our water. They did it well. They got it all squared away. We hammered them pretty hard in committee to make sure that, they're getting what they needed to. Actually had some both engineering and operational folks there at the committee level to make sure that, the engineers aren't jamming something down operations throats that aren't going to work for them. Lots of issues in there, and these are both kind of the same issues. So I'm very supportive of these issues, and hopefully the full council will choose to move these forward. We did get all the grants or the bids in correct on these. So I'll be voting yes.
All right. Thank you, Councilmember Swatman. Have any, Councilmember Hubler and then Councilmember Roach.
How many bids did you guys get? You did 3? I see the 2 names.
As I see 4. 3 or 4.
I see.
Hold on, I'm checking with the city engineer right now.
Yeah, I know they're like giving us hand signals in the back of the room here.
I see 3. If
Yeah,
it
we had
wasn't
3 bids.
baseballs,
Stealing second.
Right. They were all pretty, reasonably within tolerance, and, there's a lot of nuances to the way public bids go with that, but,
Those bids in the.
Oh, hold on. We had Councilmember Roach first and then Councilmember Fullerton.
I support this. I just had a more general question just on bid policy. Do we have a policy for the city? Do we have to get so many bids, or they have to be union, or do we have any?
They do have to be all prevailing wage. public bid contract, follow the state laws for bidding. But I do not believe that there's a minimum policy on the number of bids we have to receive.
Sometimes we don't get them. That's the hardest, we will on the committee level, we've seen some where there, it'd be a one bidder and then we say, yeah, well, wait a minute, we got to rethink this.
And Councilmember Fullerton, I know you had a question.
I apologize for.
Oh, no.
So when we were in committee last week, we had a bunch of numbers on ours. I don't see that on the packet this week, but this was all of our, the bids that we originally had.
Mhm.
So I don't know why we didn't have that in this packet this week, but there's a bunch of different companies that had put in a bid and it was over. And so we declined all of those and then sent it back, brought it back to committee last week. So, and then the McClure and Son was the best bid for the price and the what they were going to be able to do for the Granger Springs.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Any more discussion before we take it to a vote? All right, all in favor of resolution 3196, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Very good, unanimous consent. All right, next issue, Madam Clerk.
This is AB 2413, Resolution 3197. The council motion would be to authorize the award of a professional services contract to RH2 for construction management services to support the Granger Springs Pump Station Upgrade Project.
Do we hear a motion?
So moved.
All right, any discussion on the matter? All right, seeing no discussion, let's take it to a vote. All in favor of resolution 3197, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, we have a unanimous consent too there as well. So let's move back to item D off of the consent agenda. This would be AB 2410, resolution 3195. Madam Clerk.
This is AB 2411, Ordinance D 2411. The council motion would be to approve a rate increase requested by Murray's Disposal.
Okay, do I hear a motion?
So moved. Second.
Okay, any discussion on the matter? Councilmember Swabman.
No, I just moved this off because I had kind of a big philosophy kind of issue with not connecting the rate increases with the WUTC, and when I see the vendors throwing out stuff about climate change driving their rates, and I'm like, really? Okay, whatever. But, I just don't mainly like how they don't connect it with WUTC because they go through a very public, transparent process to guarantee their rates out there. And we don't have to do that because we're a city. So we do it a little bit of a different way. It's just philosophical. So thank you.
All right, thank you, Councilmember Swabman. Councilmember Baldwin.
Yeah, I was there for this discussion, and this is basically a charge that is just being passed on to us from Murray's, which is then being placed onto them. Some things I do appreciate about what they are doing is they are creating it as a very clear line item on bills, so it's not something that's going to get watered down and forgotten about. One of the things that they are very much open to is that if there's any kind of change in that, then they would be able to easily remove it off of people's bills as well. They're not a huge fan of it. It's literally a charge that they are incurring from the top down. And so they are passing it along and being very intentional about making sure that it's a line item on people's bills.
All right, appreciate that. Councilmember, any further discussion before we vote? Councilmember McClymonds.
Yeah, so thank you, Councilmember Swatman, for pulling this off the consent agenda. So in the first three instances of this rate increase, I voted no, because it's an automatic increase and because of it's a burden on the citizens that they don't get to choose, right? And I would prefer to have a little more discussion at a workshop before I would do this, but I spent a whole lot of time with Murray's Disposal on this topic, and after literally, 5 or 6 hours of investigation and discussion with them, they are very conscientious about how they do this, and they do try to take the citizens' point of view, and they do have adequate cost controls, labor controls in place. Contracts like this I've dealt with these in the past, and typically what happens is as the vendor becomes, as the contract grows over 15 years, the vendor becomes top heavy. Their employees continually to get raises, they continue to move up, and so the vendor's costs increase and they pass it along to consumer. Typically, then you pivot to a different vendor who can lower their costs. And I think Murray's was doing a good job of trying to control those sorts of costs as well. So I'll vote yes for this for the first time.
All right. Thank you, Councilmember. It's a very salient point. How'd you smell coming out of those discussions with our garbage collectors?
Yeah, pretty good, I think. You have to ask them. I wouldn't know.
All right, Councilmember Hubler.
Hey, good job.
Good
job.
I'm trying.
Councilmember McClymans, I like hearing that you investigated this so much because that has been a big piece list or reading through this of we are adding more fees constantly to everybody in the city. And that is a really hard pill to swallow sometimes for some of these families because they can't afford what they're already paying. So I'm glad to hear that you took that much time to go in depth on that with Murray. So that helps me to support this because I wasn't a big supporter of it reading through it. So
yeah.
Okay, Councilmember McClymans.
To be clear, Murray's was completely motivated to come talk to me since I voted no like 3 years ago. I made it clear.
Thanks. I have a more general question. Maybe this is for Sherry, but when I was reading through that, it says the CPI was 5.3%, which, here the national stuff is more like 3% they're talking about. So are we not with that trend?
Ms. Ryerson, can you address that?
I haven't actually looked at that part of the contract. No, this was Leslie Harris's contract that she worked with Murray's. I'm not sure if she's there.
Yeah, no, Leslie's not here this evening, but Mr. Hopkins from Murray's is here, and if I'm not mistaken, it's a CPI related to waste management. It's not the general CPI. Yeah.
Yeah, come on up to the podium and introduce yourself, please.
My name's Stephen Hopkins. I'm the district manager for Murray's Disposal. Appreciate you guys allowing me to be here and giving a little bit of your time. So the CPI that's calculated in Bonnie Lake is the water sewer trash index. So it's something that I'd be happy to, if you guys wanted to, I could email you a link to exactly what it is so you could see where it comes from. It's a federal database. It's not anything that we come up with personally.
Okay.
It's based off of October to October actuals. And that's just kind of where that number comes from is based off of that. Our industries is I think everybody's kind of realized a lot of CPIs are based off of an average consumer, what an average consumer would buy.
And pardon me for interrupting, but before we go forward, I'm a big fan of having a very clear record on things. We've mentioned CPI. Could you please tell what the CPI means?
CPI is Consumer Price Index. And so
Thank you.
there's several different indexes that can come from. There's the Seattle Tacoma Bellevue, which most people are kind of familiar with in this area. That's based off of it's standard consumer expected spending habits. The water sewer trash is based around industry specific that is more related to the true incurred costs that the waste industry is experiencing in steel pricing, parts and material for our trucks. The trucks in themselves have gone up over 25%. So there's just a lot of additional costs that comes in with that. And so that's why that index, generally that index is actually fairly tame in comparison, but over this last year, it was a little bit more aggressive than your consumer price that you would be.
Councilmember McClymans.
May I ask a question?
Absolutely.
Are there any municipalities that you serve that don't have a contract with you?
So Edgewood does not, but I don't know if they're incorporated. So I'd have to look into that. I'm not familiar with that one, but that's the only one. Everybody else has got a contract with it.
I think we can direct that question to the chief. Is Edgewood incorporated?
Yes.
Okay, very good. Okay, do we have any further questions before we let Mr. Hopkins go? Except for my humble apologies for my off-the-cuff comment to Councilmember McClimans. Don't raise our rates further because of it. All right. All right, are we ready to take it to a vote? Okay, all in favor of adopting AB 24, Resolution 3195, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Nay.
All right, we have a 6-1 vote approving. And if I'm reading my agenda correctly, that takes us to the end of our regular council meeting. The council does need to go into a closed session for 20 minutes per RCW 42.30.140 sub 4 sub A to discuss a collective bargaining agreement with no action to follow. So therefore, we are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.